Hello everyone, it's Carrie from sunshineinmypocket.com. I'm so excited to bring this video to you. I am going to be sharing a sneak peek of one of the new stamp sets that's coming out this week from Miss Ink Stamps. This is a brand new set called Blitzend, and this little mouse in the glass was so cute I could not resist, and I'm going to show you how to color it up today and some tips on coloring up glass. You can see in the upper left corner that I've already got the sentiment already. It says not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So that's the sentiment we're going to use today. And to get started, I wanted to tell you that I am not an expert in coloring glass. I've been practicing this for a while. I've been trying new different techniques, but today I'm going to show you some of the techniques that I have used that work for me that I have liked. I've got a few tips, and the first one is to create a highlight in your glass. So you can see I've kind of created like a little bit of a highlight right there on the right side, and I'm using some light blue colors to start coloring this glass. And I'm coloring even over that mouse in the glass because the glass would obscure the mouse just a little bit. And so I'm not worried about that. I'm using all these light blue colors. I had them listed on the screen for you, and I'll list all the colors I'm using today as well. So that's going to be the start of our glass, and then I'm going to add in some purple. That one was a little too light. Instead, I'm going to use the BV 000. Then just add a few more spots of darkness. And now it's time to color the mouse. So I'm going to use some cool grays today. Most times I will use warm grays when I'm coloring up creatures or anything that is living, but I thought the cool grays would look really great with this mouse since I'm using more of a warm background, and you'll see how this pops on that background a little bit later. So my second tip is to color the image a lighter color when it's behind the glass. So I am coloring the top of this mouse a little bit darker. So I'm using more of the C3s and the C1s here, and then behind the glass, the part that's behind the glass, I'm going to color up much lighter so that you can tell the parts that are clear and the parts that are behind the glass. I hope that makes sense. So you're going to see me kind of fuss with this mouse just a little bit. I couldn't decide how dark I wanted to make him, but I added a few different layers until I got just the look I was looking for. Don't forget to color his tail. I almost missed his tail. So I'm just going to finish up coloring the mouse just a little bit here, and now I'll move on to the tail. There we go. I'm going to color the tail a little bit darker as well because it's outside of the glass. For his ears, I'm just using a couple of colors of light pink with the R30 and then going in here with the R81, and then I'm going to blend that out completely with the lighter color here. He is such a cute little mouse, and I love that he's holding a candy cane. So for the red, I only used 2 shades because this is such a small image to color. Those berries are tiny. So the R29 is the dark red and the R05 to blend that out. And then for the candy cane, I'll use the darker color R29 on both of the edges with a little bit more on the inside of the candy cane, the inside edge, and just a smaller bit on the outside. And that will help create a highlight. Then I'll go over that whole thing with the R05 just to blend it out a little bit and leave that highlight spot. This is just an easy image to color and so much fun. I mean, this was the first one I wanted to color. I'm super happy that I got the opportunity to do this for you. The YG17 is the darkest color I started with, and then I'm going to bring in a darker color in a minute. But I'm just going to color the inside of the leaves with the darker color and blend that out with the YG13. And then after this was done, I decided I wanted to bring in a darker green as well. And so that's when I brought in that G17, added that to the center, blended it out with the medium color, and then blended it completely with the lighter color. And I think that just adds a little more excitement Can you call it that? I like how it turned out anyway. So we're almost finished coloring this little mouse up, and now it's time for some finishing touches. So I have here a gel pen, and I have found that you can use this gel pen to increase the highlights and to blur some of those black lines from the stamp. When you do that, it does make it look a little more like it's behind glass. So I am just adding a little bit over those lines so that it lightens them up. It adds more of that feeling of behind glass look. And I'm just adding a little more to the highlight here, you can see. And I'll add a little to the bottom of the stem of the glass as well, just down here. And that really does add a bit to the glass look. I know that it's a little difficult to see on camera. I'm going to hold it a little bit, find the camera here, hold it a little bit closer, but you can see those highlights. It does look like the glass reflecting a little bit. And I'm being a little conservative today on this one. I'm just going to add a few more highlights now to the berries, to the mouse, to the candy cane, and to the leaves on the holly down there. And that will really make this pop. If your gel pen stops working on you, just run it a little on your skin and it warms it up and helps it to keep that ink flowing. So there we go. There's our image. And now it's time for the background. When it came to the background, I knew what I wanted to do, but I had a couple of stencils that I wanted to try. So I decided to ink up both of them and see which one I liked the best. So this first one is called the Floral Wave Offset Stencil. It's also from Missing Stamps. And I'm going to ink it up with a couple colors of green here. I have Shabby Shutters, and the darker one is Lucky Clover, I believe. So I'll ink up the center portion of this stencil with the lighter green, and then I'm going to go around all the side with the Lucky Clover. And then I'll blend it all back together with the light color, kind of bring out a little more of that lightness. And look at that. So pretty. And there's the mouse. I decided I needed a little more of the light color, so I placed the stencil back on. I had sprayed this with pixie spray earlier, so I just stuck that back on to ink it up. You can see I didn't stick it on very well. But that was enough, and that brought out more of the lightness so that the mouse would really pop on the background. Oh, if I didn't mention before, this paper is Neenah Desert Storm paper. I wanted to use that warmer color so that the image would really pop off the background and it wouldn't fight too much with a white background, if that makes sense. So for this one, I'm going to ink just the edges. I do go in a little later with some darker green as well. You'll see that in just a minute. And just blend that out so it is a nice blend and a fade to from the lighter green to the darker green. So there's that one. Look how cute that mouse looks. And I don't know, which one do you like better? I couldn't decide, so I ended up making both. I colored up another mouse and made both of them. So for this one, I'm going to use the sentiment, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. I back it on some red cardstock, and I'm just going to attach that with the liquid adhesive. See, now I'm playing around with this one a little bit. I think I'm going to use it the horizontal way and kind of tip that glass a little bit on that one. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Here's where I'm attaching the sentiment, and I'm just going to glue that down, add an acrylic block to that. For the mouse, I'm going to pop him up with some foam tape so that he is a little more dimensional off this card. So I'm going to set that one aside to dry, and we'll work on this second one. This stencil is called Backgammon. It does look like a backgammon board, doesn't it? So here's where I add the darker, blend it out with the lighter, and I liked that a little bit better so you could see more of the design. And I'm going to turn it this way, add the mouse, and then I used a different sentiment on this one. This one says, "Let's pour some holiday cheer." Now for this one, I'm going to do the glass just a little bit differently. I did color it up the exact same way that I colored the first one, but I didn't add as many highlights with the white gel pen because for this one, I'm going to use a different trick for getting a glass look to your cards, and that's using glossy accents. So for this one, I did cover the entire glass portion, but I was very careful not to cover the mouse that was outside of the glass. So here we go, covering just that glass portion, and then back here, the back part of the glass as well, I'm going to cover with the glossy accents. And then don't forget the stem down here. I'm going to cover all of this with glossy accents as well. And that's going to give us a glossy look. When it dries, it will still look wet and kind of like a glass. If you get a few of bubbles in your glossy accents, just use a tool like this to kind of release those. And there you can see I've got a nice glossy look to this glass. So cute. So there's our two cards. I'm just going to add them to some card bases, 110-pound card bases. And there's a look at both of those. I used the red cardstock to kind of mimic the red in the candy canes. And I just love how these turned out. So I hope you got some good tips on coloring glass, and that I also inspired you for some Christmas cards. Don't forget to take a look at the Miss Ink Stamps website for more inspiration from the design team. Thanks so much for stopping by today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.